Rise to the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Carrie Behringer. Here. Paul is excused. Joe Watson.
Here.
Robert Laraway. Frank Peavy.
Here.
Carol Shannon here. Dave Turner.
Here. We have 6. We have a quorum. Agenda is before us. There are no corrections and no additions. Seeing none, we'll accept it by unanimous consent. Next, we have the consent agenda. Any item here can be taken out and discussed if anyone so wishes. If not, I'll entertain a motion to accept the consent agenda.
I motion to accept.
Motion made by Behringer to accept the consent agenda. Is there a second? I'll second. Seconded by Peavy. Any questions? Discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say no. Motion carries. Well, I want to just commend Tim. I know he's been running around like chicken with his head cut off, trying to get our road patrol thing organized. Contacted Lakeview and Mount Pleasant and a few other places. Going to report on it later. I'm sure most of you are aware of it, but thank you for doing all that extra little extra effort. Tim, a lot of extra effort, and Jessica for the adopt a family. Thank you for your efforts every year. And those who help you. I know that Carol does and Tim does and some other people from LIPOA do. So thank you for doing that. With that, we can have the audit report. 1 second, Bill.
Am I on?
Am I on? Almost. Hang on. Nope. And that's it. Please. Push the wrong button.
Next.
The minute there, it's like Carol's running out there.
No way. Because my computer will listen, then we'll have trouble. For sure.
Green.
Tim, I can just share my screen if that helps.
Or you're not getting on the big screen here, but I think you can just peek through, and if we can get it on the screen, we'll get it. So
go ahead and start, Bill.
Okay. I am going to share my screen. I think I sent a request to share. Is that going to work? Can you see this right here?
It's not coming out, but
go ahead, Bill.
go ahead.
Can you see what I'm on my screen at all?
The monitor's here. Like we can see it on the computer, it's not projecting from our computer to the TVs here. So
Okay. You want me to go ahead then?
issue. So just, yeah, you're good. Go ahead.
Okay. So I'm just going to be reading some things that are highlighted on your screen there, Tim. It's just some of the key sentences, key phrases in the report. I'm gonna kind of keep it brief, but if you got questions as we go, please feel free to jump in. And when I get through my short presentation, I'll be glad to take questions at the end of it. The most important line in the whole report's on the second paragraph of your independent auditor's report. It's where we state our opinion. It's highlighted in gray in my presentation. In our opinion, the financial statements referred to above present fairly in all material respects. It's the highest level of assurance you can get. We also refer to as a clean opinion or unqualified opinion. Again, that's the most important line in the report. So you can't get a better grade than that there. The second page of the independent auditor's report, there's two other paragraphs. One addresses required supplementary information. That is the management's discussion and analysis and budget comparison pages. If you look at your index, you can see those. And regarding those two things, management discussion analysis and the budget pages, we apply certain limited procedures to that information. We basically read it to make sure there's nothing in there that is wildly inconsistent with what we saw during our audit, but we do not audit those documents. In the last paragraph of a sentence of that paragraph, it says we do not express an opinion or provide any assurance on the information because the limited procedures do not provide us with sufficient evidence. So regarding those sections of the report, we do not audit those. Also in the back is another section called supplementary information. It's your combining statements on pages 25 and 26. That information derives from the same underlying accounting records, which we did audit. And so we do issue an opinion on that. And it does say that the additional supplementary information are fairly stated in all material respects. So that is the independent auditor's report. No unusual things here, pretty routine, pretty standard report. Any questions on that? Just shout them out if you have any. If not, the next page, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Okay. The next page on my handout is the statement of activities, which is a summary of your income and expenses. It's on the full accrual basis, which is we take into account all the revenues and all the expenses that incurred during the year, regardless if they were paid or received during the year or not. So we bring all those elements into it, and the change in net position, or if you were for profit, it'd be your profit or loss, was a loss of 74,514 with all your operations combined. So you did reduce your net position by that 74 grand for the year. However, if you go to the next page, it's the same idea. It's the revenues expenses, but it's on what we refer to as the modified accrual, which is we account for all the revenues expenses that incurred during the year and were paid or received, plus anything that happened in the 2 months 2 months following year end. So it's modified. It's closer to the cash basis. It's the way we've been presenting audits for decades. So this is the statement level that you're probably most familiar with. General fund had an increase in fund balance of 12 grand. Major street went down 4,600. Local street went up 10 grand, almost 11. And then the other non-major funds had an increase of 46,000. But overall, the village had about a $65,000 increase in fund balance. So certainly headed in the right direction there overall in terms of change in net position. The next page is a page out of the notes. I pretty much skipped to the back. These are just three different upcoming pronouncements that you need to be aware of. I'm not going to wade through them. They're kind of technical, but GASB 101 is a change in how compensated absences are presented. Statement number 102 talks about certain risk disclosures. There's some changes to that. Probably the big one is 103, the financial reporting model. If you look on page 20 of your full report, you'll see a little outline there of some of the key changes in that. So there'll be some changes in the reporting process. A lot of that falls on us. Obviously, management has to be aware of it so they can prepare the records for that disclosure. But that's what's coming down the pike. The second letter, in addition to the auditor's opinion on the financial statements, is the letter we refer to as the government auditing standards letter. It's on page 27 of your full report. It talks about two different areas. The first area is a report on internal control. We do look at internal control, how you process receipts, disbursements, payroll, those type of transactions. And then if we find any internal control issues, they would be identified in this letter. If you look at about third paragraph down in that section, It does say that we identified certain deficiencies in internal control, described as the schedule of findings as item 2024-1. And I will talk about that in just a second. The second part of that letter talks about the report on compliance. We do look at compliance matters. If we find any non-compliance that we were required to be reported, we would address that in this paragraph. Yeah, in this paragraph. The last sentence there, it said the results of our test disclose no instances of non-compliance or other matters that are required to be reported. So one comment on internal control, none on compliance. If we flip to the next page, the finding that was referred to in that letter is shown on this page here. It's page 29, your full report. And what it refers to is there were some grant revenues that were overstated by 127,000. This is not a terribly unusual situation. You get grant money in, you don't spend it all, and it just slips through the cracks, and you forget to defer the balance that you did not spend. I'm assuming, Tim, you probably had the conversation with the board. You did a nice job on your management response, bottom paragraph there. Again, not a big deal, mainly because of the size of the dollar amount. We had to throw it into the schedule of findings. The last couple pages, you should have received in the mail the communication with those charged with governance at the conclusion. In my little presentation here, I just highlighted some of the key things. I'm not going to go through all of them with you today. Hopefully you've had a chance to look at them. It identifies the most sensitive estimates. It talks about whether we encountered any difficulties with management, which we did not. It does mention the finding as far as corrected and uncorrected amounts. We did receive a management rep letter. We didn't have any disagreements with management during the year. To our knowledge, there was no consultation with outside auditors to get a different opinion. And so other than that, all those were pretty routine responses in terms of our relationship with you folks as an audit client, and it was identified to you in that letter. So very quick report, pretty routine. Anybody have any questions? You want to go through the full report or any questions on that? I'd be glad to take a few minutes and go through that.
Questions? Okay, I don't think we have any questions, Bill.
Okay. Well, I appreciate the chance to be here. If you got questions in the future, please don't hesitate to give me a call. We'll be glad to chat. So, and I appreciate Tim and Jessica, their work. Again, a boring presentation is always a good one when it comes to auditing. So,
all right. Thank you.
Thanks.
You bet. Thanks. You folks have a great night. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Okay. Motion to accept the audit. I'll make a motion to accept the audit. Motion made by Latte to accept the audit. Is there a second? Or seconded by, did you stand, Bob? Laraway? Okay, motion made by Latte, seconded by Laraway to accept the audit, 2023, or 4 rather. Any discussion? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Joe Latte. Robert Laraway. Brent Peavy.
Yes.
Carl Shannon, yes. Terry Berenger. Yes. Dave Ferguson.
Yeah. Motion carries 6-0. Okay. Thank you for running on that. Man,
We're gonna go to adopt a family before you hear boring things from me.
So this year has by far been our biggest year for adoptive family. Carol and Alicia from the LIPOA had an idea to expand our list. They were wondering how we could bring more people in. And after looking at it, we were going to mail it out to everybody in the village, just in case they just weren't aware of what we do. We did narrow it down cost-wise to just the 48893 zip code. In doing so, we've doubled our revenue for adoptive family. We were able to adopt 6 families. 2 of them came from Wademan Elementary, and they reside within the village. 1 of them came from the foster closet, and 3 of them came from the women's shelter. We were also able to secure gift cards for two of our residents who were in an accident a couple months ago, right out here on Coldwater Road. Those will go in the mail. And we have some money left over to go to the Waveman Food Pantry and the Wynn Community Food Pantry, as well as to buy some sweatshirts for Riley's Closet in Bealston. We've had a lot of help this year. The committee, which is myself and Carol and Alicia right now, did an amazing job. We worked most of the year this time on this. We touched base every couple of months, and then every month, and then every week up until the time we did meet with the new association representative, and she helped with Toys for Tots this year. We were able to donate $1,000 worth of toys, which we mainly focused on the teens because that's what Toys for Tots has told us in the past that they needed the most was teen toys. Everybody buys baby and kid toys, and then the parents that go and shop for Toys for Tots, they just don't have anything for teens. So we secured many toys for teens, or I guess I should say mostly tech things for teens. We dropped that off with the Shepherd Police Department because they have a friendly competition with the other police departments in the area on who can bring in the most donations. They did win one year. We were maybe not this year, but we gave it our best shot, and they were very appreciative of the donation that we had. So it's an amazing time of year, and this year, above all other years, our community really needs to be proud of themselves on how well they've come together to support this endeavor.
All right. Now you're.
So if you haven't taken a drive down Queensway in the last week or so, dredging work is ongoing at Birch Bay. They took out, I think, 97 loads today. Loads are running about 14 yards per tick. They're hoping to have a pretty substantial portion of it done by the end of Friday, assuming the weather holds off. Been muddy, it's been cold, but they are certainly making a lot of good progress. For those of you who aren't aware, part of the project has morphed into also redoing the boat launch completely, and looking at the existing launch and how it's configured, and then the access road that has been temporarily created to get in and out of the bay. Everyone said it would just make a lot more sense if this was the boat launch in the future. So that is part of the project. They should be done, dredging, I would think, before Christmas, and then we would go on to that next part. We did ask them questions come in about could we do anything with the stumps that are out past the turbidity curtain. I've talked with George about that. He said they've inquired about that in the past with the Department of Fisheries, who are very opposed to altering structures on the lake bed that would have a negative impact on the fish habitat. So that's probably not something that we could go after as part of this project. But all in all, I think it's going really well. We're working on the bid packet right now for the river area. And I've got some photos of that, some aerial ones from land. Working on, getting some type of at least memorandum of understanding with potential landowners, a disposal option for the site. So things are moving along. Permits in hand for the river. So working through that stuff there. In your packet, you have a copy of a letter dated December 1st that will formally terminate our coverage agreement with the Sheriff's Department effective 12/31/24. I've sent an email to Roger Sweats. He is our finance and bond attorney. We're going to end up with about $6,000 left over. And that's without levying that tax this year. So this is still 2023 tax dollars that we've not encumbered yet. So trying to figure out what his advice to the council be on whether that could be applied to an additional contract if we were, say, to contract with the city of Mount Pleasant, something of that nature. So hopefully I'll have an opinion for you guys in the near future. State of Michigan has not done the petitions yet, so nothing to report on there. Tracking a series of bills that have potential impacts on the village during lame duck. First one is House Bill 5438. That is the short-term rental legislation. That has not made it out of committee in the House. As of today, the House is in session tomorrow and Thursday. The House is struggling mightily when it comes to having a quorum to do business. So they only have, I think a 56, 54 Democratic majority, might be 54, 55 in that range. The Republicans walked out of the session last week, upset over non-action on a couple of issues. One of the Democratic reps went home, which meant they were short of quorum, so they couldn't conduct business. And then over the weekend, 2 or 3 of the Dem members of the House came out with some very critical comments of the Speaker of the House. So not sure if the House is going to be able to get anything done. The Senate has scheduled session tomorrow, Thursday, Friday, and Monday, the 23rd. There are 4 bills, 2 in the House, 2 in the Senate, that would create a statewide septic code. The state has tried many years to do this and has always failed. Supposedly, we're the only state that doesn't have a statewide code. The House versions haven't made it out of the House yet. They're on their second reading. The Senate has passed theirs, so those have been transferred over to the House, but they've not been assigned a committee or anything like that. The way those have been worded, I think are certainly concerning, and things that I've reached out to the MML and to our legislators to oppose, based on mandatory inspections and these type of things that, quite candidly, the health department does not have the staff to do. To do this statewide is not a feasible solution. There's a series of housing bills, 6095 through 6098, that we've opposed at the MML. One of them would remove mandatory parking from zoning ordinances, which would be a way that short-term rentals would try and get around some local regulations. One would allow duplexes by right in residential districts. A couple of the other ones aren't terrible in concept, but they're worded very poorly. The league has been pushing 2 bills that would create a revenue sharing trust fund. They have passed the House. They have not made it out of committee in the Senate. That would bring additional revenue sharing to all local units of government, including the village. So obviously that would be one that we would be supportive of. Senate Bill 480, I've talked to you folks about that in the past. That is changes to the Land Division Act. I've testified in Lansing on this. I had a conversation over the phone with the bill sponsor last week. It has come out of the Senate, or it's come out of the House. It's come out of the Senate. It's on the second reading at the House. But what it would do is, the way the Land Division Act is structured is you have parent parcels and you have child parcels. So a parent parcel is anything that was legally created and existing in March of '96. Everything that's been divided out of a parent parcel is referred to as a child parcel. A child parcel is eligible for redivision after 10 years once it's created. What this does, though, is we have a great example here in the village. This is down at the end of Eagle View Drive, north of River Road, part of the old Ledbetter property. And that box down there at the bottom in red is roughly 10 acres in size. That is a child parcel of the larger parent parcel that was basically going north of 12 House Drive. Under the Land Division Act right now, that big chunk of land can only be divided in a way that would result in 2 total parcels. 1 acre and a 9, 2 5, 6 and a 4. But that's it. You couldn't divide that further unless you either did a site condo or did a plat. That is not a, attractive scenario to a developer where, you're only going to come out with 10 lots, maybe. That there's no financial incentive to do that. So the change that we have been very supportive of in the Land Division Act, paragraph 5 talks about, these are the divisions you get based on the size. This is how you can get bonus divisions if you keep, 60% of the parcel undivided, if you do a new road, yada, yada, yada. And then there's going to be a new paragraph 6 if it gets enacted that says, despite all that stuff, if what you're doing conforms to a local ordinance, you can do what the local ordinance says. So in this instance here, this parcel is in LR5 right now, which the minimum parcel size is 1 acre. So per our zoning, we could approve divisions to result in 10 parcels there. way more chances to get that developed than going through a site condo or platting process. It would open up, I think, a ton of land for residential development across the state to help with housing, to help with economic development, because you have these oddball parcels that unless you're in a very dense urban area, there's just not financial sense to do anything with. And then last but not least, the planning commission in January is going to be holding a public hearing, at least one, to rezone a 1 acre square on Coldwater Road. You may have remembered over the last few months, a home that was demoed across from Unified Brands Electric, whatever they are now. That parcel of land was zoned LR5. The surrounding parcel that it had been absorbed back into has been zoned ag for many years. So this would revert that 1 acre square back to ag, so it matches the rest of the property. Pretty straightforward. We actually talked to the property owners, like, you didn't ask for this, but it would make a lot of sense for us to do this. Would you guys like us to do that? And they're like, yeah, that sounds like a good idea. So, that is my report that I have tonight, folks.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for Tim?
Just where that was brought up a few years ago, like the rezone that. It was never talked about. Like,
Al Cook came in.
Not the square. They rezoned from LR1 to ag.
Right.
oh, the bigger town?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So this was all LR1 originally. He wanted this ag, and now we're like, well, this might as well be ag now too, since the house is
Right.
gone.
Okay.
And if you go and check on the GIS, there's not a parcel here anymore. They've absorbed that into the parent parcel.
Anybody? Questions? All right, thank you, Tim. On to public hearings, there are none. Portion for public comment. We have 2 public hearings.
Well, just congratulations to Tim. We went to the county commissioners and I think by default, you're at least gonna be in one. of those things.
We'll see what happens at the 7 o'clock meeting.
Yeah. I said, I think you're into this.
No existing business, so we're down to new business. Resolution 2415, employee handbook amendment.
So I want to present this to you tonight. You can certainly act on it. You can wait till January since the change in the law doesn't go into effect in February. And this is one of the 2 issues that Republicans walked out on the House because there's not been any action. The other is minimum wage for tip employees. But barring some amazing act in the Michigan legislature, which I don't foresee because I don't think the Dems are going to sign off on this, effective in February, all employers in Michigan have to award earned sick time on a rate of 1 hour sick time for every 30 hours of actual work. So you have in your packet proposed changes to our handbook that would put that into effect for us when that goes into effect. There's one other change that I put in there. We have 4 holidays here that are back to back. Thanksgiving, the day after, Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, New Year's Eve, New Year's Day. The 4th, if it's on a Tuesday, you get the Monday. If it's on a Thursday, you get the Friday. It would only impact 1 employee now, but in the past, we've had more part-time employees. In a situation like that, I think it's fair and it's a good employer part on us to award 1 holiday pay when those are double days off that they couldn't work in the lives. I think that's fair. I think that's reasonable, especially because 3 of them are going to come at a time of year when everyone's trying to find money to buy presents and do that kind of stuff anyway. But for the sick time, we certainly could look at doing it through, actual tracking the hours every time period. We front load now. I prefer to continue front loading. For us, because we are so small, we do payroll manually still. So we're not using any type of software. I think it is more efficient for us to front load, go off your budgeted hours and round up to the next even number. then we're not gonna have to deal with fracking and in May, are you gonna get, you know, an extra hour or two?
Well, the program costs money too. It has its own 3 employees.
When we did all the BSA software, you know, we did taxes, we did cash receipting, we did community development. I was like, do you want to do payroll? It's like 14 grand. No, I don't think we do want to do payroll.
All right. Okay, discussion. Any questions for Tim?
So basically that, you've made some other edits in the handbook, or at least,
Just a typo.
yeah, okay, got it. So that would update the handbook to where it should be at this point then, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Does it matter whether we deal with the resolution tonight or?
Like I said, this doesn't go in effect until February, assuming there's no changes. I don't believe this is gonna move in lame duck. I really don't. And you're gonna have horse trading in the near future because you're gonna have one party control one chamber and another party control the other chamber. So
This is just a Michigan requirement, right? This isn't like a federal. Law.
correct. So this law was put into effect. It was a voter initiated law. And I want to say 2021, maybe 2000. It was on the ballot in 2000.
In the middle of COVID.
And what happened and why there was this, it was called the Mother Jones lawsuit, is the legislature then went in and immediately amended it. And that worked its way through the court system, and the court said, no, because this was a voter initiated law, that session of the legislature does not have the constitutional authority to amend it, change it. Subsequent ones can't. So like if that was the 101st Congress, the 102nd could have, the 103rd, but not the one where the voter approved law was enacted. You don't have the right as the legislature to amend it in that section. So that worked all the way through the court system. It went through the Michigan Supreme Court, who ruled last fall that no, the legislature can't do that. This is going to go effect in February. Jessica and I attended a nice educational thing from our attorneys. They brought their clients in to walk everybody through it. So
Well,
I'm totally fine waiting a month. Yeah.
All right, you sure?
well, yeah. Is there a reason to wait a month?
Yeah, can we do it now and be done?
Up to you guys.
Right.
We're gonna have chickens next month.
Right, so we should do this
We're gonna
now.
have bees next month.
We're gonna use next month.
Bees.
Oh, we- oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah,
Either still,
Like
we
you
don't want
want
to-
that's right.
What's their pleasure?
I just don't know the rules on it. If like PTO can, like, does that count at court sick time or does it has to be
It's
dedicated?
separate. Earned sick time.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like I talked to my wife, like, have they mentioned how they're gonna do this at your employer? Like, no, I'm sure they're just gonna roll it in with PTO. I'm like, yeah, I can't do that. Like, the law is specific to earned sick time because the law actually puts limits into like, as an employer, you have to allow them to take up to 72 hours of paid sick leave apart from PTO, that kind of stuff. So,
Is that one of those where you have to use it first with on?
no, it rolls over.
So you accumulate.
Your earned sick time rolls over.
Most of
So then we
the
pay
states.
for it.
Yeah.
You don't have to compensate when they leave.
You don't.
As an employer, you can, but you don't have to under the law.
Right.
But you can bank it every year. So if you've been here 10 years, you know, into the future, you could theoretically have 90 days of earned sick time if you haven't taken any of it at that point in time. But
Yeah.
right now, we award six days a year. That's a good sign. This would bump it up to an extra 2.5 days, I think. Nope.
No.
Nope.
Wait, I don't think so. Make the motion. Make the motion, yeah. Bob moves that we accept resolution 2024-15. To a second? Seconded by Behringer. Discussion? Seeing none? Roll call.
Robert Laraway.
Yeah.
Brent Peavy,
Yes.
Earl Shannon, yes. Gary Berenger,
Yes,
Bill Watty.
Yes.
And Dave Ferguson.
Yes, motion carried. 6-0. Council meeting date.
You have the schedule for our regular meeting dates, your regular meeting dates in 2025. There are 2 dates that I have flagged that I would respectfully request you consider rescheduling. Both of them are conflicts that I have with my final year of service as a trustee on the Michigan Municipal League Board. That would be the March 18th meeting, which is our Capitol Conference in Lansing. And then the September meeting, which is our annual convention in Grand Rapids, which is on the 16th. I suggested in there perhaps moving the March meeting a day earlier, which would be St. Patrick's Day, mainly because it's going with the spring break. I know that will impact travel for people. And then September, that one you can just slide back a week and move the 23rd, which is fine because there's 5 Tuesdays in that month. If that is acceptable. Or you can meet on the 18th. But I won't be here, and you can have that starting meeting. Like you've got in 6 inches taken.
Turn it anyway.
And this would be a good time to note that I will not be here February 18th. So if we wanted to, we could change that to the 19th, which is a Wednesday. Don't have to, but that's the chicken day.
Oh, good point. You should be here for
Do you
chicken.
really have somewhere to be, or do you just want to be back?
No, I'll be here the next day. I don't have any trouble moving the March one or the September one.
Well, I think,
That is why I can. Should be doable.
how about the chicken one though? What are we gonna do about that?
The next day. I won't be
Oh,
here.
yeah,
that
so
day.
we're doing 3 then,
Yeah.
February, March and
That
September.
would be Wednesday, February 19th.
All right,
Sorry, I
I'm good
wasn't
with
very
that.
clear.
Okay,
And then March 18th would be a Monday, and then September 16th would be a week later. Does that meet with everyone's approval? Okay.
this motion.
Yeah, if we wish it to amend the schedule. Anyone? Change February 18th date to 19th, March 18th, move it to Monday, March 17th, and September 16th regular meeting, move to September 23rd. Further discussion? Seeing none? What?
Checking the February thing quick.
Saying it? Say no? Okay, motion carries. Make sure you write it down, Jeff. Saying that for my sake. Second, opportunity for public comment? Go ahead. Nothing?
Just good.
Okay. Okay. Council comments? Okay, announcements, except for those meetings, I think the next one is January 21st.
So yeah, we've got ZDA Thursday night here,
Here.
7 o'clock, for various requests on Castle Court. We're closed next Tuesday and Wednesday, the following Tuesday and Wednesday, the planning commission meets on the 14th and the council meets on the 21st of January.
Okay. Okay, that's it. Now, we have Tim's evaluation to go over, so we need a motion to go into closed session. Make that motion. Motion made by Latte to go into closed session. Is there a second? Also seconded by Phoebe.